In my opinion, they're the three most important questions that I can explore with my clients. And today I want to explore these questions with you. So let's go for a walk and let's talk about them. And these are not financial questions. I'm not going to ask about tax brackets or how much money you're spending in retirement. These are softer questions, but you know what? Sometimes the softer questions are the ones that make all the difference. And in fact, I think they're the ones that always make all the difference. And these are really designed to get you to think about, what's important to you and what does retirement look like for you? Remember, one of my goals for this channel is I want folks to be thinking about retiring sooner than what typically happens in the United States. So let's jump in and let's talk about this first question. The first question is, let's say tomorrow morning you wake up and you find out, something happened. You won the lottery, you inherited some money, and all of a sudden you have more than enough money to live a very comfortable life. Maybe you're not buying islands in the tropics, and maybe you're not flying on corporate jets, but money is no longer an issue for you. As you think about your wildest dreams for retirement and the amount that you'd like to get to, let's just say we got there. You're at the age that you are now. So if you're watching and you're 30, so be it. If you're watching and you're 40 or 50, whatever it is. And so my question to you is, if you didn't have to worry about money anymore, if you didn't have to worry about working to put food on the table, to pay your rent, to have health care insurance, all those things, save for retirement, if you didn't have to worry about all those things, and that money was just in your bank account, how would your life be different? What would you be doing differently? How would you live your life differently if that was the situation? What would the next 5 years of your life look like? What would the next 10 or 20 years? Would you keep working? If so, would you keep working in the job that you're in now? Would you start a different profession? What would you do? And money plays a lot of different roles in our lives here in the United States. So I just want you to think through, how would your life be different? Allow yourself to kind of dream. One of the takeaways, you write some of this down and you think, okay, those are good questions, Azul. So that's the first one, is how would your life be different if you didn't need to worry about money? Second question is not as much fun. The second question is, I'm going to give you a scenario. You go to your doctor. The doctor's been running some tests, and the doctor's got the test results, and you get the answer from your doctor's office you never want to hear, which is, we can't give you the results over the phone of the test. The doctor wants you to come in and see him. And mea culpa, I've had that happen to me. I've got the beginning stages of heart disease. So, doctor didn't want to give me the results of my calcium score. So I had to go in and talk to the doctor. And fortunately, I have a great doctor, and he's helping me out with that. But let's say you get a similar phone call from the doctor's office. And you go in and the doctor says, unfortunately, I've got some tough news I have to share with you. You've got 5 years to live. At least. You have at least 5 years to live. You're not going to be around in 7 years. So somewhere between 5 and 7 years. Now, during that period of time, you're going to feel fine. You're not going to feel sick. You're not going to feel under the weather. And so the question is, how would your life be different? If you knew you only had 5 to 7 years, how would you spend that time? What would be important to you? What would you do with your life, and how would you live it? Right? And I think that, it's not like you just have a month to live, right? If you just have a month to live, most of us are probably going to say, we want to spend that time with people that we love. And it's a long enough period of time that you can think about, you don't have to rush. You have enough time to do the things that you want to do. And so this question is really designed to get you to think, what are the things that are important to you? What are the things that you want to make sure that you get done? Okay, so that's the second question. I told you that there's 3 questions. How are we doing on time? I'm doing pretty well. And so the third question is similar to the first one. You go to the doctor, but this time, instead of the doctor saying you have 5 to 7 years to live, this time the doctor tells you, you know what, I've got bad news for you. you've only got 24 hours to live, right? So, you're going to say goodbye to your loved ones. But the question I want you to think about in this case is, what are the things you regret not being able to do? And who did you as a person not get to become? And then, what did you miss? What are the things you're saying, I've only got 24 hours to live. I didn't get to do this. What did you not become? What did you miss? What are the things that you're going to miss out on? What are the things that, this is coming up in a year or 2 years. I'm a father to 2 young daughters. So, one of the things that would be on my list is, and I kind of choke up thinking about this, but not being able to see my daughters, get married and if they want to have kids, things like that. And then who did you not get to be? But, these are powerful questions. You can see myself, I got choked up just thinking about one of those questions. And that's the whole idea, done right. I want you to choke up. I want you to be thinking about these, because the things that you choke up about, those are the things that you want to look at and say, maybe I should live my life differently. Maybe I should plan on doing things differently. Again, one of my motivations, having been a financial advisor now for over 20 years, is I see people wait too long to retire. And then later on, I see them have a health issue. They have a stroke or a heart attack. They get a cancer diagnosis, and now they can't turn back the clock. So I want to bring forward these questions that cause you to choke up. And just make sure that you're thinking about these things and that you're incorporating those when you're making these types of decisions. I do want to share that these 3 questions, there's a financial advisor in my industry that was one of the first to really start talking about the softer issues. One of the things that I'm passionate about. His name is George Kinder, Kinder. And back 25 years ago, when I was getting into the industry, he was asking these deep questions. And now it's my turn to ask these deep questions and share them with you. But these are, 3 important questions that I think we're all going to make better decisions if we think about these things now. We think, what are we going to miss? Who are we not going to become? And what's holding you back from doing that now? I think that's a really important question is, let's say you went through this exercise with me and you said, okay, Azul, I see what you're saying. I see why this is important to you. What's holding you back from living the life that you want to live, that would keep, and what are the choke up moments? Let me give you an example. I've shared before, I'm fortunate that I've been able to travel to over 50 countries, 50. And before I was 50 years old, though, I was not well-traveled at all. And I thought, sometimes when I hear an ambulance and I'm on the side of I'm driving and I pull over to let that ambulance go by, just because my father, my uncle had several heart attacks, and unfortunately they had to be transported by ambulance. When I pull over for an ambulance on the highway, it's not lost on me that there's a good chance that someday it's going to be me in the back of that ambulance. And so as I pull over and I wait for that ambulance to pass me, I think, when it's my turn to be in the back of that ambulance, what are the things I'm going to regret having not done? And so, it's once a week an ambulance goes by and I think about these things. And when I was in my 40s, I thought to myself, one of the things I'm going to regret is I didn't get to see the world. And it used to be when I would share a story like this, just like before, I would choke up. But I don't choke up now. I hope I get to see 50 more countries or even more than that in my future. But you know what? If it was my turn to go in the back of an ambulance this evening, that would not be a regret. I was able to check that box, and it wasn't easy to do. I had to, unfortunately, disappoint some people. Wish that, I hadn't gone on some of these trips, or I had not taken all of my vacation. My company's great. They do encourage us to take all of our vacation, but you know what? There's still pressures and people have to cover for you. So I'm glad that I made that tough decision. These are tough decisions for a reason. they'd be called easy decisions if they were easy, but they're tough because they involve trade-offs. And so that's really the purpose of those 3 questions. Again, I want you to reflect on it. Maybe talk to a good friend, talk to your life partner, talk to your spouse if you're married, and the 2 of you go through this. Again, you know, how would your life be different if tomorrow morning you woke up and you had plenty of money, you were financially independent? How would the next 10 years look? And, you know, what keeps you from, I'm not saying it's easy to do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I think it's good for all of us to know, hey, if I didn't need money, this is what my life's path would look like. Question number 1. Question number 2, you go to the doctor and he says, you know, I got bad news. You're going to feel fine, but you're going to live at least 5 years, but no more than 7 years. You know, how would your life be different? And what would you focus on in those 5 years that you knew that you had for sure? And then the last question, you know, a different scenario with the doctor. And this time the doctor says, unfortunately, you've only got 24 hours left to live. You know, what are the things that you're sad that you missed out on? What were the things you were not able to do? And who is the person? This is the one that really gets me. Who is the person that you were not able to become just because you ran out of time? So these are deep questions. Thanks for hanging with me on that in this video. If you like deep questions, this is a video I did. These are 7 things that I want you to think about, stop doing in your 50s or later in order to enjoy the journey more. Kind of a part 2, a follow-up to today's video. Thanks for watching today's, and I'll see you in this video here.